Go on then.
The one that we did this morning,
Oh,
the
there.
TikTok
How
we
much?
did this
How much of
morning.
that have you remembered? That'll be impressive.
The wonder is you.
So close.
No, that's not it?
Everything I do, that's the wonder. Bum, 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 bum. The wonder of you.
That's what I said, wonder of you.
You.
That was
Hey,
good. You can sing.
I think we stick to the real estate and forget the singing.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of My Real Talk. I'm your real estate expert, Kiara McLaughlin.
And I'm Roger Southam. And what we want to do is give you an introduction to what My Realtor's about, why we've set up, what we're trying to achieve, how we can help you, how we can make your real estate experience the best it can possibly be. One of the most stressful things you'll ever go through is buying or selling your home or investing in a home or any form of property transaction. You do it
You
so
think it's stressful,
infrequent.
but we make it stress
Oh no, we
less.
take the stress away.
Yeah.
That's what we're
Okay.
here for.
Yeah, I was thinking
But for
that
the
too.
people, stressful. Man, it's stressful. Do you know, I think the most stressful things in life are having a baby, which only 50% of the population do, of course, because the men don't do much. Changing jobs, getting divorced, obviously, always a bad thing. Don't want to be doing that. And buying your home or selling your home.
Well, I've only done one thing out of all of those
There you
things,
go.
and I
I've-
can definitely agree. It is
One
a
of those I've
stressful
done a
thing.
few times, which is not to be recommended. But anyway, there we go. And it wasn't having a baby. So yeah, so what we want to try and do is debunk a lot of the myths that are built up on Cayman Islands. We want to make life as simple as possible for you. And what we're going to do over the podcast is take you through how easy and simple real estate should be and why what we're offering into the marketplace is so different and so unique to what has existed in the Cayman Islands before. One of the big things that we ought to get on the table up front is why are we doing fees from 2%? Why are we not running along with the market at 7% and 6%
All right,
and
slow the hype
5%?
down. We're going
and-
to talk about that a little later.
We'll save that one, shall we?
Yeah, one step
Okay,
at a time.
okay. Right, so what we're trying to create with My Realtor is an English estate agency, would be the best way I could describe it. So rather than having the American form of brokers working individually under a banner, each competing with each other over buyers, over sellers, over transactions, over operation, we work as a team. So if you come to My Realtor, you will get the whole team working on your behalf. You don't just get me, you don't just get Kiara, you don't just get Alicia.
You get all of us.
You get everybody.
And in my experience, that's not something that I was necessarily used to. And when Roger brought it to me, I was kind of like, I don't understand what you're talking about because that's not how I work. You know, I don't work with people. I work.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Why
That's
would you
exactly
do
what I
that?
asked him. I was like, why would you do that? You know, but now starting out with the company and seeing how everything flows, it's literally a team, you know, like there's no animosity. There's only like, let's help each other get the deal done.
And the reason is because it's all about you. It's all about service and it's all about the client and it's all about giving the best possible experience in your real estate transactions.
I agree.
So whoever gets the listing, you get the whole team working together. So my 43 years real estate experience around the world, I speak internationally.
Not
I've
Caymanian,
worked in
but-
the US. Yeah, I'm finding that one out as we get into bouncing.
Bouncing.
I'd say fist bump. Anyway, that's beside the point. I've worked extensively in the UK. I still consult in the UK, worked in the US, worked in Eastern Europe, spoken around the world, China, you name it. And that 43 years, I know I was a baby when I started. That 43 years is what I'm bringing to the party to make the transactions as effective as possible. What Kiara, Alicia and Julia are bringing to the table is their local knowledge, their local expertise, and they're getting trained up towards RICS qualification, and we'll get them RICS qualified, which is a worldwide governing body. We're regulated by the RICS, which again, we've had comment from people that thought the RICS only covered valuation or they only covered quantity surveyors. RICS is a broad church, covers everything: general practice surveying, covers estate agency, covers minerals, covers land surveying, covers quantity surveying, covers everything.
And when you look into it, it's something that you actually want, you know?
Absolutely.
Because you're fully covered, basically.
Fully covered.
Yeah.
And what the girls will have when they qualify is a qualification that they could use anywhere in the world. So they're not restricted to a qualification that's tied to Cayman and Cayman only. It's a recognized qualification around the world, 130,000 members worldwide. So that's the experience and the expertise we want to be bringing into the party.
Right. So this is something that needs to be discussed, because I remember posting something about why you need to hire a buyer agent and basically getting called out saying I need to take it down, I could get fined, and I was very confused. I was just like, wait a minute, aren't we representing?
What is confusing, because there are people who've got posters up on some of the bus stops and things saying they'll be buyers or sellers, but there is a restriction on agents that they can only act for sellers. So if you go as a buyer to an agent, they are still effectively acting for the seller. They're not on your side as a buyer. Whereas under RICS regulation, we can only be on one side of the table. So we're either acting for the buyer or we're acting for the seller. Now, if we're acting for the buyer, we're going to get you the best deal possible as the buyer. So we'll get that price as low as possible. We'll use all the skills, all the techniques, all the tricks to get the price down. If we're acting for the seller, the reverse happens. We use all the same tricks, all the same techniques, all the same skills to get the price up. So depending on who our client is, and we're very clear, we only have one client, it's either the buyer or the seller.
Right.
And that is where our focus is, that's where our energy goes, that's where we make sure we get the best deal for that person. Full stop, simple as. And we will market ourselves for buyers, we'll market ourselves for sellers. So if you come to us and we hold your hand as a buyer, you're going to get the best possible experience, and every step of the way we'll make sure your transaction is smooth and you've got the best deal.
But the reason why we can market that way is because, well, correct me if I'm wrong, we're under the RICS, and like you mentioned, we can only act for one or the other. So being that if we say I'm a buyer, you then present to me a buyer's agreement and not a listing agreement, correct?
Correct.
And that way it solidifies that you are representing me solely, and I am and I'm your client.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we have a buyer's agreement, and what we will do, we'll go out and we'll sit down with you and talk through what you're looking for, what your ideal purchase is, what the property is going to be like, how you want to use it, how you want to live in it, how you want to rent it, what sort of returns you want, what your experience wants to be. Whatever that scope is, we're going to sit and we're going to work out where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. From there, we're going to create a thumb sketch of your requirements and what that dream home, what that dream investment is going to look like. You were going to say?
I was going to say, and correct me again if I'm wrong, I've never heard of a buyer's agreement on the Cayman Islands. And until I met this young gentleman here, I was just like, oh, that's neat.
The holding company of my realtor is Caribbean MGT Limited. And when I was starting up, I was speaking to a few people on island who I knew or played golf with or had knowledge of, or in real estate on the island. And I'd say, right, there doesn't seem to be any buyer's agents out there. And they went, oh no, we can't have any buyer's agents. That makes no sense to me. So it felt like there's a gap in the market, and it felt like there's a whole area that is kind of shrouded in mystery of people thinking they're being acted for, but they're not really being acted for. And throughout my career, I only know one way to operate, and that's with transparency, and that's with openness. So, and I guess that might come from the RICS training, where you've got to do everything with integrity and openly and honestly, and act on one side only. So that's the only way I know how to be.
Yeah, and that's just not on island. RICS is worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's recognized all over the
Yeah.
world.
So there's estate agents in the
Yeah.
UK who will be chartered surveyors. Generally, in overseas territories, from the RICS point of view, they are more quantity surveyors and they are more valuers than necessarily the estate agents. Because if you look at the US, they've got the National Association of Realtors, which covers the broking industry. And for the level of fees that they're charging, the RICS would struggle to break into that market. And it's been so long established in the US. But it's something that I think Cayman could embrace and should embrace, because from a UCCI point of view, even putting on courses and getting people trained as chartered surveyors would give them a worldwide recognized qualification
Yeah.
that can be transported anywhere they want to go, anywhere they want to
Yes.
go. Australia, Middle East, you name it.
And that's great
anywhere
for
you
the
wanna go.
locals here on island too. Gives them
Absolutely.
a huge opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's
So-
all about opportunity at the end of the day, and it's all about service.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Everyone has been questioning the 2%.
No.
Yes, the 2%. Can you believe it? The 2%.
Yeah. Why would we do that? Why would we be that
I don't know,
stupid?
because we're ridiculous. We're
Crazy.
not thinking it
We're
through.
Crazy. We're mad.
We're
mad,
insane.
Mad people. Mad people.
I don't know. Is it a discount or is it
No.
value?
No, it's not.
You
Right.
know-
So.
I think people need more clarification
Yeah.
on what we're doing with this 2%.
That's a fair comment. Why 2%? Okay, so in the UK, if you got 1 or 1.25% for selling a property or buying a property, you'd be doing incredibly well. That is considered a good fee. There is no reason why fees need to be as high as fees are. They're not cheap in the States, and they're a whole level above here, and I don't understand it. Just doesn't make any sense to me. And what really hasn't made any sense is that the percentages have gone up when actually the prices are going up, so the amount you're taking at a percentage is going up with the price going up,
Right.
so you don't need to increase the percentage. So yes, it's a smaller market. Yes, there's less real estate per se. We've only got a population of 65, 70,000 people. We're 100 square miles. A lot of land being transacted.
So it's not like the market is necessarily hurting. There is action
but,
happening.
yeah, there is action happening, but it's, I mean, you could argue because it's not a huge market and you're only going to do a limited number of transactions, that's why the fees are higher. But I still don't hold much water with that. So we're about...
Wait,
Go
before you
on.
continue, I have another question.
Yes.
So if the market was at a low and there wasn't many transactions happening, would then the commission fees be high?
Yeah, potentially, because you're trying to make your year's income in one transaction.
Okay, I was speaking to...
That's also called another word.
I was speaking to an owner of a real estate company in Belize, and actually he was saying to me, our commission rates up there is 8%. I was like, wow, that's really high. And he's like, yeah, but it's not making as, like how Cayman market is, it's not blossoming,
Yeah.
it's not booming up there like how it's booming here. Like it's booming,
Yeah.
it's cha-chinging over here. So why isn't it going down?
Well, exactly. So everything I've always done is try to be fair and reasonable and give value. And in the same way, we may as well broaden this topic actually, because in the same way that you've got a differential of 20% between Cayman prices and US prices.
Right.
Yeah. So the US dollar is 120. One Cayman gets you 120 US, right?
125.
125, whatever. So that differential is there, in theory, to cater for import and the other surcharges. So if I went and bought a shirt in the US for $50, I should be paying $42 here for it to get the same price, right?
Right.
But for some reason, that doesn't happen. I'm paying $80, $90.
You're paying an arm, a
Because
leg.
exactly,
some of your
because
hair.
the markups get higher. Now, when Paul Blount and I set up Caribbean MGT, both Paul and I have very similar philosophies in life in terms of reasonableness and fairness and value. And it was about how do we create an estate agency that is fair and great service and great value. And that is what I've been working on and leading towards, and what we've now got with the brand of My Realtor, an opportunity to actually really make a difference.
Right.
So we can give great service, great delivery, and great value in what we're doing.
Instead of overpricing and then in the end the client isn't even happy with us and then they feel like, why are we paying this overprice?
Yeah, you know, one of the first buyers I acted for when we'd set up in 2020, some of the emails that she showed me that agents had sent her were quite frankly outrageous. I mean, I couldn't even conceive that you'd write to someone you don't like in the tones that she had been written to, let alone someone you're allegedly serving or trying to help. Mm-hmm. So it's that variance over what service means. Now, I mean, there's many ways to look at service, and there's many ways to interpret service. And the Americans are always held up as great bastions of service. I'm not so sure they're great bastions of service. I think what they are, they're very confident in what they're doing and they're very clear in what they're doing. So if they can give you a bad service, they'll tell you they're going to give you bad service. I've sat in bars where someone said, sit there, wait, I'll be round in 10 minutes. Now, no one's going to wait 10 minutes for a drink, but you know you've been told 10 minutes, so you've got two choices. You walk out or you wait the 10 minutes.
Right.
They tell you what's going to happen. So it's not about necessarily pampering, but what you don't do is turn around and either ignore someone or abuse someone. And that whole service concept is something that I've worked on forever in terms of property management, in terms of investment development, you name it. It's always been at the forefront of how do you give someone the best service. And it's about telling someone what's going to happen, making sure that happens, and then following it through.
Right.
So it's say what you do and do what you say. Mm-hmm. And if you tell people how it is and you tell people what's going on, generally they can deal with it, generally they can work with it, generally they can find some means, some method, some way to understand and to go along with it. So if you're doing a property transaction and there's bad news, you've got to sit them down and treat them like an adult and tell them the bad news. It's no good hiding it or being abusive about it or blaming someone else or passing it off or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's about how do you message and how do you handle. So when you translate that across into the fee level, it's that same thing. It's about giving them value. It's about giving them openness and giving them service and being able to sit there and go, that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
So our fees are from 2%, so it will depend on what
it
marketing...
starts from 2%,
absolutely.
so not everything will be 2%.
No, but it depends on what marketing cost people want to pay rather than having the fee. It's all that element. So it's about giving value, it's about giving service and the best possible service on island.